We're back for our daily NBA best bets here on the channel for Monday, December 8th. There's only 3 games today in the association with the NBA Cup semifinals, or quarterfinals, starting tomorrow in the Eastern Conference. We'll get there, obviously, tomorrow. There's only 2 games, Heat, Magic, and Knicks versus Raptors, and obviously winners go to Las Vegas. So today, with the NBA Cup approaching, and I guess because the NBA didn't know who was going to be in the Cup, there's only 3 games. Now, here's my question. The games are Kings, Pacers, Suns, Timberwolves, and Spurs, Pelicans. My question is, it makes sense these are all West teams, right? Because like San Antonio is going to Los Angeles on Wednesday to play the Lakers, right? So they have a day off in between. What if the Indiana Pacers made the play-in quarterfinals? They would have made them play a back-to-back? Because no way these are rescheduled. No way these are just like they scheduled these just because of the Cup, because the Spurs wouldn't be in this. What? Whatever. I mean, obviously, again, the Pacers probably were not reaching the Cup quarterfinals anyway. But is it not crazy they just threw the Pacers in here? Oh, well, you could play on Tuesday a back-to-back for, their whole thing's we don't want teams playing back-to-backs. Regardless, there are 3 games today. We're still going to have 5 best bets. We're going to do 2 player props, 2 player props, 3 money line / spreads, and then tomorrow we'll just have 4 best bets essentially for the next 2 days, because again, we only have 2 games apiece. Okay, folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily NBA best bets here on the channel. Earlier today, we posted our college basketball best bets, so go make sure to check out that video. That'll be linked in the description down below. Also, later today on the channel, our college football Week 16 predictions. There's only 3 games this week in college football, but we're going to break down and predict every single one like we've been doing all year long. So make sure to join us for that at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And on Greedo Plays MMA, our UFC Fight Night Royval versus Cop full card predictions were posted yesterday, and later today, we're going to have our PFL Europe predictions, PFL Lyon, France, with Vadim Nemkov and Hanan Ferreira in the main event again for PFL Europe. Okay. On to the first of our 5 best bets today for the association, as we kick things off in the Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the Indiana Pacers and the Sacramento Kings. First bet of the day, first pick of the day, give me Zach Lavine over 20.5 points. I know a couple games ago we actually took Lavine's under on 3-pointers. It was a game in which Lavine scored 2 points against the Houston Rockets, and we're like, bad matchup, probably not going to hit, 3 3-pointers is what he needed to go over the line. He took 3 threes, and he didn't hit a single one. Now, Lavine bounced back in a big way, though, right? So scores 2 points on Wednesday against Houston, and then comes back a few days later in Miami, plays 39 minutes and scores 42 points against the Miami Heat, and goes 8 for 13 from beyond the arc. That is the most 3-pointers he has hit all year long, the most 3-pointers he has attempted all year long. Again, 12 for 24 from the field, 8 for 13 from beyond the arc, and 42 points for Sacramento against Miami as the Kings come out of nowhere and go to Miami and pick up a win against the Heat. Again, the association just doesn't make sense sometimes. So Sacramento picked up their 6th win on the season. They're now 6-17 as they are on the road going to Indiana to take on the Pacers. Now we're going to pick a spread winner in a second. I'll tell you who I think is going to eventually win this game between 2 very low-level squads. But if I can almost guarantee anything here, I think Lavine's going to score quite a bit. I love the matchup with him in Indiana. These are 2 teams, well, just actually not even Lavine in Indiana, the Kings and the Pacers. 2 teams that love to play with tempo, 2 teams who run the entire game. This is a perfect match for a high-scoring basketball game, right? I would look at quite a bit of overs in this one. I didn't mind Andrew Nembhard's over, but I decided on going with Lavine instead. I didn't mind Siakam's as well. I don't even think Jay Huff's line's that bad today, but I think the best one that I could find was Zach Lavine at 20.5, because I fully expect Lavine to be in the mid-20s, potentially even in the 30s in this game. And I know, again, there is inconsistency with the scoring of Zach Lavine. Hell, there was a reason on Wednesday why we took his under on 3-pointers against Houston, because he was coming off games where, he wasn't shooting all that well. And that still might be the case. He's just going to get so many looks, and playing in transition is really going to, it helps the Pacers and it's their style, obviously, but with the personnel that they currently have, no Halliburton, it's, they're trying this season, but there's a reason Indiana has the 2nd worst record in the Eastern Conference and they're 5-18, because, it's great when Halliburton's there and you've got a healthy Nesmith, and, Ben Shepherd's playing and Obi Toppin's playing, and you actually have a center. But when you're rolling out a starting lineup of Nembhard, Shepherd, Mathurin, Siakam, and Huff every game, that's not a, obviously, playoff-looking squad, right? And there's still a bunch of injuries on this Indiana team. I believe, Shepherd is still out for quite a bit. It's rough, man. Again, Nembhard, Siakam, Mathurin, Huff, McConnell are all healthy and playing. But, Furphy's been in and out of the lineup. They're playing Garrison Matthews legitimate minutes. Come on, guys. I like the Pacers, but they're not going to play defense. Now, again, I'll pick a spread winner in a second, and I'll give my rationale for that. But at least I listed off all those guys. None of those guys are, great defensive players except for Andrew Nembhard and Pascal Siakam. Siakam's not going to be guarding Zach Lavine, and I don't know if they're going to put Nembhard on Lavine. They probably will, I would think. But I think Lavine's going to get a lot of his points in transition tonight. I think the Kings, again, they like to push a pace. Russell Westbrook taking the ball down court. Again, what Westbrook does, he's not Russ at whatever age he's at now, and obviously playing on Sacramento is not an elite scorer anymore, obviously, but he still gets things going, right? Westbrook's still going to push the ball down court. He's still going to create opportunities and play make for his teammates. And that's going to set up a guy like Zach Lavine, who, again, attempted 13 three-pointers in their game against Miami and hit 8 of them and got to the line 11 times. That's really meaningful, right? I was a little surprised DeMar DeRozan's line is higher, and that's a question, too. Like, are they going to stick Nembhard and DeRozan, or are they going to put him on Lavine? You would think probably Lavine, but the way DeRozan plays, you actually might rather have Nembhard there. Probably not. That's going to be Matherin's assignment, I can only assume. But again, we've seen Nembhard. Nembhard's still a really good defensive player. We have seen a slight, downtick. I don't think that's the right word to say, but we've seen Nembhard's defense go a little bit, it regress a little bit this season just because of what he's got to do offensively. And we saw that coming from a mile away, right? We were like, okay, Nembhard, no Halliburton. He's, added emphasis on what his offensive game is going to be this year. And I don't know if he's going to be the same defensive player, at least in this individual season. Next year, we expect Nembhard to become, again, one of the best perimeter defenders in all basketball. He's still a great perimeter defender, but again, not as great as he was last season. It's a tough matchup with Lavine, who can run, and again is on a team that's just going to go up tempo and play you at your game if you're Indiana. I just think it's a good spot for Lavine. I'm going to go Zach Lavine over 20.5 points, especially, again, considering the way he just played against Miami, who plays better defensive basketball than Indiana, scoring 42 points. I'm going to take Lavine to stay hot in this game. Give me Zach Lavine over 20.5 points in Indiana against the Pacers. So now on to the spread winner. Yeah, it goes against everything I just said well, not entirely, right? I mean, I was praising Lavine, but at the same time, like I did say, I think Siakam's going to go over points. I think Nembhard's probably going to go over. Hell, the Jay Huff line was extremely low, and my biggest question out of Sacramento this game, and I think it's completely valid, is how are they going to stop Pascal Siakam, right? Siakam's points line's pretty high. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but there's a reason, right, I went to Lavine over Siakam. But I do pose that question. I mean, what does Sacramento have in store to shut down Siakam? Yeah, Keegan Murray 100%. But I mean, what happens again when Siakam's down low and he finds Jay Huff underneath the basket? I know Jay Huff is not a great scorer. He's not a guy who gets fed all the time underneath the basket, but I legitimately think there is a center problem with Sacramento without Domantas Sabonis. Actually, well, you don't need me to tell you that. There's a very clear center problem with the Sacramento Kings. They finally moved away from playing Drew Eubanks extended minutes. They took him out of the starting lineup and instead are now starting the rookie out of Stanford, of course, in Maxime Reynaud. The best move they can make. Precious Achiuwa is playing decent minutes now off the bench as well, but I still think Jay Huff's going to see a lot of success in that matchup. And what happens when Keegan Murray comes off the court? Who's guarding Siakam? Achiuwa? Eubanks is going to guard him, right? Like, I think that's where Indiana wins, and the Pacers, have been built on their depth over the last couple of seasons. Obviously, that's not what they are this year with the injuries, but in a game like this, actually, yeah, they have more depth than Sacramento does. Look at this Kings bench right now. I mean, Malik Monk should be playing a lot more than he actually is. I understand he's not shooting all that well. For some reason, the Kings don't like Keon Ellis. He plays like 10 minutes a game, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. But again, they don't take advantage of their actual really good bench guys like Monk and Ellis, and not many guys get minutes off the bench for them right now. I mean, it's Neat Clifford. Monk does get minutes. I think he doesn't get enough. And then Achiuwa. That's about it, right? Obviously, the Kings are starting Russ, Lavine, DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and Maxime Reynaud, and that's fine. I just think Indiana's able to win this game. They're at home, and we do need to consider as well, guys, Sacramento's on the end of this road trip. They've been on the road for quite a bit now, right? Go to Houston, go to Miami. Now they're in Indiana. They will return home on Thursday night with the matchup with the Denver Nuggets. Yikes. Are they, again, I do believe, right? I do believe that Zach Lavine's going to have a big game. But are they able to run for the entire 4 quarters against Indiana? I don't know. right? Especially you're on the tail end of this road trip. You've been on the road since last Tuesday. It's your third game at Indiana. You're coming off a win, so you're feeling good, but at the same time as well, what are the odds Sacramento wins back-to-back? And sure, the Pacers' record's bad too. Sacramento 6-17. Indiana is, I said it earlier, they are 5-18. Dare I say the Pacers are playing a lot better basketball recently, though. They have been winners in 3 out of their last 5 games. 2 of those victories are the Chicago Bulls, and the other one is the Washington Wizards. But it's not crazy to say, yes, Sacramento is on that same tier of Washington and Chicago, and it pains me to put Chicago in that tier. But after yesterday, yeah, they are on that same low-ass tier. And I get it. The Warriors just shot extremely well in the first quarter of that game, but post-first quarter, Golden State was not that great. And Chicago just looked like crap the entire time. So I don't know what to say about the Bulls. Trade everybody but Josh Giddey. It's really the only thing you need to say about that team. The Bulls have now lost 7 in a row. It's unbelievable. It's fine. The Pacers will be back next season. They're going to start ruling the East again, and I'll have something to watch for in the Eastern Conference yet again. But Indiana has won 3 of 5, and that's been off of the heroics out of Pascal Siakam. Siakam's putting together another all-star season. He should get the honor of being an all-star yet again. Just dropped 36 points in 31 minutes against Chicago. Yes, the Bulls don't play defense, but that three-point ball to Siakam looking a lot better right now. Siakam is, around a 40% three-point shooter this season. Went 5 for 7 from beyond the arc against Chicago. Again, Pascal's playing well, man. Spicy P is playing good basketball, shooting the three-point ball, the best he's ever had in his career. Last year was an all-time high in terms of three-point percentage for him. He might even top that this year. Siakam's getting looks, and yeah, he's playing for a bad team, and the Pacers understand what the season is, right? I think, as soon as they went, 0-4 to start the season, we kind of realized, okay, this team's probably going to, just tank this season. I had a lot of optimism early, and for good reason, right? They played the Thunder the first game of the year, and they almost beat OKC, right? Which is ridiculous to think about now. To open up their year, and now look at them. They're 5-18, but the Pacers know what the season is at this point, right? You're just looking to gain experience. Siakam is going to continue to, get to run with these guys, and this is more meaningful for guys like Johnny Furphy and Jarris Walker, and I don't even know who else is part of the future. It's probably about it out of the rest of the squad. I know Nembhard, Shepard, and Mathurin are going to be back, but this is just useful for these guys going into next season when the Pacers should be able to make that next run, right? Assuming and hoping they get a top pick. I'm hoping for a DeBonsta. I think that'd be the perfect fit for this squad. I wouldn't mind Darren Peterson either. Pearson or DeBonsta, please bring them to Indiana, one of those two, and then go out and sign a center in free agency, and then all of a sudden the Pacers are a legit contender again, right? This is what happened when the Warriors had Curry out in 2020, and they completely, or is that 2021? No, it was 2020. When they completely, just shut everything down and tanked for that pick where they obviously flopped and got James Wiseman. Hopefully that doesn't happen to Indiana. I think they do win this game and cover the spread. I think Sacramento on the end of the road trip is going to be a little bit difficult here, and I'm going to go Indiana to win and cover the game at home, -3.5 for the Pacers at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. On to our third best bet of the video. Let's go to our next player prop. I know it's -130, and sometimes that isn't the best for player props, but I do feel like this is pretty automatic. If you want better odds, and if the book that you have is offering it, you could just look at over 3 3-pointers for Gillespie, so it just pushes at 3 because there's potential he does hit 4. But I'm going Colin Gillespie, my goodness. That's bad. Colin Gillespie over 2.5 3-pointers. Look at all the injuries Phoenix has got tonight. We don't even know if Dillon Brooks is going to play. There's a chance Brooks won't even go tonight. Devin Booker is not playing. I think the belief on Booker is that they're hoping they can get him back for the Cup game because, of course, Phoenix got the unfortunate honor of advancing into the second round of the NBA Cup. And you might ask, why is it unfortunate? Well, they drew the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round of the play-in, which is very unfortunate, obviously, because that counts as an actual regular season game. And the Suns, they're not going to win the Cup. They're not going to beat OKC, so they just threw them an extra game against the Thunder. It was hilarious when I saw Suns fans on Twitter reacting to this and saying, wait, hold on. Whoa, we don't even want to be in this thing, and we got rewarded for playing OKC for the second time because OKC was already in their group. Anyways, Phoenix does have to play in a couple days. San Antonio has to play in a couple days as well. We'll get to them in a second. But they do have to stop in Minnesota first and take on the Timberwolves. And they are 9.5-point dogs. Again, we'll get to the spread in a little bit. But they're 9.5-point dogs on the road without Devin Booker. Jalen Green's still out. And potentially no Dillon Brooks as well. Brooks is questionable they're not stating an injury right now for Dillon Brooks. He's just questionable. Okay, that's great. Played 31 minutes against Houston the other night. There's legitimately nothing. We don't know what the injury is for Dillon Brooks. Okay, that's great. Dropped 23 points against Houston as well. But Phoenix came out on the wrong side of that equation against the Rockets, losing the game by 19 points. And yes, we've had a very hard time figuring out Phoenix Suns basketball this season, at least since their initial run, right? We had them in a couple Clippers games, and we felt really good about Phoenix early in the season. I was like, this thing can't continue, and apparently it has. But I haven't really been able to get the best, read on the Suns recently. But of course, we'll get into the spread in a little bit here. Phoenix is 13-10, and obviously we're going to go to Colin Gillespie tonight. With Devin Booker out, that's absolutely massive, right? Booker got injured in the, it was the OKC game not the OKC game, right? The Lakers game. Who am I kidding? Got injured in the Lakers game. They're trying to get him back for the OKC game. No Booker tonight. We saw what happened in that Lakers game when Booker went out. Colin Gillespie just got, red hot from three. Goes 8 for 14 from beyond the arc. The greatest game of Colin Gillespie's career. 8 for 14 from three for 28 points. It was absurd. It's his career high, if I'm not mistaken. But, okay, no Brooks potentially. Obviously no Jalen Green. Who's going to take their shots? Again, I don't know if Brooks is playing or not, because it's really weird because there's no injury stated on the official injury report for the Phoenix Suns. There is no injury clarified right now for Dillon Brooks. So I don't know what it is with him. So if he's not playing, the starting lineup is going to look like Colin Gillespie, Grayson Allen, Ryan Dunn, Royce O'Neal, Mark Williams. Who the hell does the scoring? I'm so serious when I say, Colin Gillespie's the number one. I mean, Grayson Allen's not going to be a number one option. Grayson Allen, maybe is it Grayson Allen? He's averaging 17 points per game, but that's because he went off for the 40 one night. It's Colin Gillespie. The way both those guys have been playing recently, and Grayson Allen just coming back off an injury. No, the number one option would be Colin Gillespie. He's gonna have to take a million shots, and we saw again the only game that Phoenix has played so far without D Book was that game in Houston. They had 4 days off in between the Lakers and the Rockets game, but when they went to Houston, Gillespie took 7 3-pointers. He just hit one of them. Expect even more to be shot, because 7 3-pointers is actually a really low number for Gillespie. Like, even with Booker on the court, and I understand Booker and Gillespie don't always share that same time on the court together, but obviously in certain spots they will, in certain rotations they will, but in games in which Booker plays and Brooks plays, Gillespie's averaging about 9 3-pointers a night, at least again in the second half of November. So only taking 7 against Houston, and I understand that game got away from Phoenix and Gillespie only played 29 minutes, but that's a low line. It's a low number of shots taken for Colin Gillespie. And now we add in the fact that I think this game should be a little bit more competitive. I'll get into the matchup in a second, but I think this game should be a little bit more competitive. We know for a fact no Booker, potentially no Brooks, and the way Gillespie shot in the last game, there's nowhere to go but up for him at this point. I think this is going to be fine. I expect 9 shots out of Colin Gillespie, potentially 10 shots out of Colin Gillespie. He should hit 3 of them. There's a reason the line's at minus 130. It was a rare off night for Gillespie against Houston because, again, Gillespie is one of these players. The only shot he really takes is a 3-pointer. There are some other shots Gillespie will look for. At once every blue moon, he will drive. He's got, basic guard layup package. But he's a 3-point shooter. And the Suns are looking to get him the ball from beyond the arc, right? That is part of their game plan. Get Gillespie the ball for 3. And we've seen so many games so far this season where Gillespie has gone. I can rattle them off. In the month of November, 4 for 8 for 3, 6 for 11, 4 for 9, 3 for 6, 3 for 7, 4 for 7, 4 for 9. This is not a player who needs 10 3-point attempts this is not a player who needs 10 3-point attempts to get 3 3-pointers. But this is a game where he's probably actually going to be given that many shots. Again, Gillespie is a 43% 3-point shooter this season. I legitimately think he's going to get 9 or 10 3-pointers. Again, if he gets 6 or 7, he's probably still going to go over this line. And that's, again, the floor for Gillespie tonight in terms of attempts. I'm more than fine with this line, especially with a banged-up Phoenix team going into Minnesota. And the way the Suns have been playing defensively on the perimeter, give me this all day. Colin Gillespie, over 2.5 3-pointers. This one's listed at minus 130, again, for the Suns point guard. On now to our 4th best bet of the video. Let's go to now the spread pick for this exact game at the Target Center in Minneapolis. I'm going to go Timberwolves minus 9.5. I'd be cautious with this one, though. Out of all the money line, or all the spread picks, I'd probably play this one last, I think. We'll get into Pelicans Spurs in a minute. Obviously, we're just talking about the spread for that game in a couple minutes here, but I'd probably play this one last. Minnesota has been very, very unreliable, right? They're playing these teams way too close. And, at the end of the day, wins are wins in the association. Minnesota's 15-8. The Timberwolves currently have the 6th seed in the Western Conference. That's where that gets you, right? 15-8 gets you 6 right now in the West. It's absurd. OKC 23-1, Lakers 17-6, and Nuggets 17-6, Rockets 15-6, Spurs 15-7, Minnesota at 15-8, and then actually 7 is Phoenix at 13-10. But they've been playing these games really tight, but they're winning, so you can't really complain that much. I mean, their last 5 games are all, down to the wire, basically. 4-point victory over Boston. That's a little bit different. We know how good the Celtics are. San Antonio game, they beat them by 13. No Wemby, obviously. Injured San Antonio squad. No Dylan Harper. No Stephon Castle. Actually, Harper might not have played that game either. In New Orleans, first time around, beat them by 7 in overtime. Second time around, you go to New Orleans and only beat them by 9. And then the Clippers game, Minnesota's down 20-plus points in that game. And that is just classic Clippers second half meltdown. The Clippers dominate that game early. I think it's more of I think it was about 20-point lead. Might have been 15. But the Clippers are up big in that game. The highest lead I think they got was 18 points. So again, a near 20-point lead for Los Angeles. What happens? They completely choke it. Minnesota comes all the way back and wins in typical Clippers second half fashion. That's what happens when you have a bunch of guys who are just old as hell. There's a reason the Clippers are 6-18, and they're going to break the NBA with a top 3 player in the NBA draft going to the Los Angeles Clippers. Not Los Angeles Clippers. Should be going to the Clippers. That's going to be going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Anyways, though, Minnesota does come back and win the game. Naz Reid, I believe, hits the big go-ahead three-pointer in that game. Anthony Edwards had a very quiet night, went 3 for 11 from the field and only scored 15 points and only attempted 1 three-pointer. It was a big Jaden McDaniels night, and he's capable of doing this, obviously, right? McDaniels scores 27 points in 37 minutes and goes 3 for 3 from beyond the arc. So this is what I'm saying about, Minnesota being a little bit unreliable. Everything points to, yes, this should be a blowout. We're going to see Phoenix chuck up shots, and this is what they do. They throw up a bunch of three-pointers out of guys like Gillespie, Grayson Allen, Dylan Brooks, if he's healthy, will definitely do that. Royce O'Neal, that's his only shot, and it's just, Mark Williams, go out there and try to bring down some rebounds for us, right? Try to buy us an extra possession out there. That's how Phoenix plays. Minnesota should put it on them. And this is a good Timberwolves team. We know that. It's a good Timberwolves team. Are they good enough? And I don't really want to get too far into this, but are they good enough to win a championship? Obviously not. This is not a championship-winning Timberwolves squad. We've seen this over the last 2 seasons now, right? Minnesota gets deep in the postseason last year, Western Conference Finals appearance. They lose in 5 games to OKC. Year prior to that, right? Get to the conference finals, lose to the Dallas Mavericks. That was supposed to be Ant's year. They beat Jokic, and they go into the Western Conference Finals and lose. 3 seasons ago, they first round exit to the Denver Nuggets, right? They've been constant playoff disappointments, I guess, but not disappointments because they overachieved last year. They beat the Lakers, and they obviously they beat Golden State. It's just this is not a championship-winning squad, and I don't really know what Minnesota. I don't know what their plan is. With all due respect, you can't win a title with DiVincenzo, Edwards, McDaniels, Randall, Gobert. You can't. I don't even want to say you need a second star, but it's just that is not a good enough supporting cast. Naz Reid's good off the bench in spots. Sometimes in playoff basketball that gets tricky, but Mike Conley essentially is going to have to play playoff minutes for Minnesota this season. I can assume that'll probably just be Rob Dillingham, but the way that they're playing both the guys right now, and obviously a lot can change from now until the spring, but right now, Mike Conley is getting minutes over Rob Dillingham, and Dillingham really is not part of the rotation all that much. So it's an interesting equation. Dillingham plays sparingly, but it's interesting what Minnesota's got going on. And they're getting by right now, but it's how consistent will this team be down the stretch? I don't know. I think they're on a different tier than the elite squads, which I think is OKC, Lakers, Nuggets, Rockets. I would say by far those are the 4 best in the West currently. Not to say that Timberwolves, again, won't be involved in that equation somewhat. They are going to be in the playoffs this year, obviously. Seemingly like how Phoenix is going to be, right? This Phoenix squad is 13-10. They're the 7th seed, and we've talked about it before, right? I think there are 9 teams I can almost tell you and guarantee you they're going to be in the playoff/play-in. It's the top 6 we've already talked about. Phoenix, Golden State. How about the Grizzlies yesterday? I told you, I've been watching that team that close game against Denver when they went out and went on the road and beat the Clippers. I don't know. I like the Grizz quite a bit right now. They play good basketball, and they won yesterday again, too. So I feel like they're in. Golden State's in, Phoenix is in, and then there's just going to be one play-in spot that's just going to be who wants it. I think it's going to be Dallas, probably. But regardless of all that, though, I think Minnesota is going to beat Phoenix today. I think they're going to cover. It's just, look at that. On paper, this should be easy. Look who Phoenix is trotting out tonight. Sure, again, starting lineup, it's not great. No, it's not good at all. But it this isn't the worst compared to other teams in the league. Gillespie, Allen, right, Dunn, O'Neal, Williams. It's just who's coming off the bench tonight. Jordan Goodwin, Jamari Buyea, former USF product, Oso Ighodaro, Nick Richards. That's about it. Malic doesn't play right now, which is interesting. I mean, I guess teams don't play their first-round picks in their first season anymore unless you're Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper. It is what it is. I'm going to Minnesota here. I'm going Minnesota to cover. Even if Dylan Brooks plays, I think the Timberwolves get this one. But again, this is probably my least confident one on the entire card today. Final best bet of the video. Let's go to the only game we haven't talked about so far. Same line, same everything. Give me San Antonio Spurs spread on the road at the Smoothie King Center, if it's still called that, in New Orleans against the Pelicans. Obviously, San Antonio is still somewhat of a banged-up squad. The report came out yesterday that Victor Wembanyama is injured. The team does not have an estimate yet on when he's going to play, but it seems, and well, I'll tell you this, Victor Wembanyama has been actively pushing to play in the NBA Cup game against the Los Angeles Lakers because, of course, it's a Super Bowl, and I like Wemby, but I'm just saying it's a Super Bowl, and everyone comes back against the Los Angeles Lakers, right? So, of course, we were told a week ago, oh, Wemby's definitely not coming back for the Cup. His estimated return date is, mid to late-ish December, but nope. He's a full participant in practice. He's got a calf injury, which makes me kind of think that the Spurs are going to hold him out for the Lakers game because they don't care about the Cup that much. But Wemby wants to play because, of course, he does. So we shall see. Going into tonight's game, though, against New Orleans, which I find a little bit interesting, right? The Spurs do have to play today. Lakers and Thunder don't, while, again, the two road teams in San Antonio and Phoenix are going to have to go right back on the road and go to OKC and Los Angeles, respectively. I mean, Phoenix is not going that far. They're going from Minnesota to OKC. San Antonio's in the deep south right now. They're going from New Orleans to Los Angeles right after this game, or I assume tomorrow they're going to go to Los Angeles. But anyways, the Spurs are going to be missing Victor Wembanyama, obviously. Luke Cornett questionable. Stephon Castle questionable. So we shall see. Because again, Castle, rookie of the year last year, has not played since November 16th. We've known that, again, he's getting closer to that return date. And it should be interesting to see the dynamic between him and De'Aaron Fox full time now, right? When De'Aaron Fox came back out of injury, right, that's right when Castle got hurt. Like, they shared the floor for, 2 or 3 games. We never got to see the full dynamic between Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox. And what we did see in the limited action that we saw of those guys was more shots going to De'Aaron, obviously, but less volume for Stephon Castle, again, who was the rookie of the year last season. So we'll see what happens going forward. I don't know if Stephon Castle is going to play or not tonight. It's more, I assume he's going to play the Lakers game. And then we'll see what happens to Luke Cornett, who is, scheduled, obviously, to make starts to center for this team, but they will play Kelly Olynyk in other games when Cornett's out or Cornett's on the bench, and obviously with Wemby out as well. So we shall see if Cornett gives it a go. Regardless of all that, though, I expect the Spurs to put it on New Orleans. You still got De'Aaron Fox, who, if needed to take over a game, can absolutely do so. I've always said how dangerous the Spurs are. They're still young, and I don't know if I can't say this is a title contender just yet. They're going to be making waves in the postseason, but am I really treating San Antonio as a potential threat to the chip right now? No. And in all fairness, am I treating anybody as a potential threat to the championship right now other than OKC? Not really. The Lakers and the Nuggets and the Rockets, I think, would be the only 3 teams I'd even compare to OKC right now, but it is pretty clearly the Thunder's to lose at this point. But San Antonio has guys, right? De'Aaron Fox can take over a game. Devin Vassell has been really good this year. I really like Julian Champagnie off the bench. He rebounds, hits threes. Dylan Harper coming off the bench can really do his thing. Harrison Barnes has been a reliable shooting hand at times this season. Sochan obviously is unplayable offensively, but does bring you a good defensive presence. It's a good team. I really believe that out of San Antonio. They're just, again, a couple years away. The Pels are one of the worst teams in the NBA. They might have the worst record now. They do. Washington's 3-19, but the Pels got them beat on losses. The Pelicans are 3-21 again compared to the Washington Wizards 3-19. The Pels are really bad. Just lost a game by 18 points on the road to Brooklyn. They played somewhat competitively against Minnesota at home. That's what I was talking about earlier. And they just get big scoring nights out of Trey Murphy. They do obviously have their fair share of injuries as well. Herb Jones is potentially coming back soon. He could play tonight. He's been out for a while, but Herbert Jones is questionable with the calf injury currently. We know, again, their top 3 guys, at least contract-wise, are out right now. DeJounte Murray's still out till the new year. Zion Williamson's out for the foreseeable future. Looks like Jordan Poole's getting closer to returning, but he will not be playing tonight against San Antonio. So there's just a lot of holes to fill tonight for New Orleans at home, sure, against in front of likely nobody, because we've already talked about, the problems New Orleans is having attendance-wise this season. I'm very sure you could get into this game probably for $2, because whenever I watch a Pelicans game and I have the NBA League Pass thing where they show the commercial breaks and you'll see the crowd and they somewhat pan up top to the upper decks. There's nobody up there, unless it's a weekend game for the Pelicans. So they're struggling attendance-wise, and there's the theories, again, will the Pelicans move? I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. Regardless, though, I think the Spurs can get it done against a injury, riddled and a depleted Pelicans team. Jeremiah Fears is having a really good season. I'll give them that. Derek Queen's been great. Trey Murphy's been really good. Other than that, I don't really love the rest of the squad. Evis Missy has his days, but yeah, there's a reason the New Orleans Pelicans are 3-21, and there's another reason why the San Antonio Spurs are 15-7, and all fairness, San Antonio coming off a loss to Cleveland, but we know how dangerous the Cavs can be when they're not losing at home and scoring less than 100 against the Golden State Warriors. Anyways, folks, we're going to take San Antonio -9.5 to close the day. Again, not the best slate of games today, but we will make do with what we get. Folks, thank y'all for watching our NBA best bets here for December 8th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Make sure to comment if you disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily NBA best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.